Once upon a time, there was a man. He was really frustrated with life, and he was really fed up with his relationships, with his finances. He was broke, he was in debt, he was fighting with his wife, and the world seemed to be really going against him. He was really under a lot of pressure because of his debt, and because of that he was really frustrated all the time. And because of that frustration, he started to argue with his wife and his friends. One day he went to cut trees in the woods, and over there he found a little fairy. Okay, and the fairy asked him that, hey, I think you're really upset, so do you want something? So the fairy said that, yes, whatever you want, I'm going to give it to you. So all he wanted at that time was to get his debts cleared, because he thought that all his problems in life were centered because of his loans and because of his financial problems. So he asked the fairy, can you somehow help me to get rid of my debts? That's the only thing that I want. And the fairy said, okay, sure, I can do that. So right now all your debts are going to get cleared. And within a day, he found out that the people from whom he had taken money, they called him and they thanked him that, yes, you have returned our money, although you have returned it late, we are really happy that you have returned it, and now your debts are cleared. So he was like, oh my god, the fairy really did make my wish come true, so I really should have asked for more, right? That's what he was thinking. And then he again got a bit angry because his debts were like $10,000, and now he began to really feel upset that since the fairy could give me $10,000, all I needed was a little bit more, or I could just ask for 1 million. Why didn't I? And in that frustration, he again became really bad tempered. He started to fight with his wife again, and in a very short time he again went into debt because he wasn't really earning much. So in that way, one day after another, he started to fall again into that zone, and he kept on searching for that fairy, but that fairy never came. And in this way he just spent the rest of his life. On another case, there was another man who was equally frustrated with his life, and he was also in debt. But the difference between this man and that man was that this man was really hopeful. He was like, okay, I have a lot of problems in my life, I'm in a lot of debt, and my relatives won't talk to me, my friends will not talk to me because they're afraid that I might ask for money from them. So he also went to the woods to chop off some trees, and the fairy also came to him. The fairy asked him that, hey, I think you're really upset, do you want something? And this man, instead of saying that I want to get my debts cleared, he said that, okay, if you can give me anything that I want you to give me happiness and satisfaction. So the fairy asked that, are you sure? Because I know that you're going through a lot of debt. You have a loan of 10,000 and you're really worried about it. I know that your friends are not talking to you and your relatives are kind of like staying away from you because of your financial problems. So is that what you want? And the man said that, yeah, this is what I want. I want happiness and satisfaction. So the fairy said that, okay, you can have happiness however you want. You can have it your way. And she said that and she left. The next day, nothing happened. The next day, nothing happened. The day after that, nothing happened. And even the day after that, nothing happened. For 3 months, this man was still in debt. He was still out of his work. But something was different about this man. Even though he had no money, even though he was called by the people from whom he had taken money, they kept on insisting, return our money, otherwise we're going to do something. And the people from whom he had taken money, they were almost threatening him every day for like 2 to 3 months that it's time, you really need to give back our money, otherwise we're going to do something to you, we're going to take away your things. But the strange thing about this man is that ever since he met the fairy, he was really not worried about it. He was not bothered. He was like, he used to smile away and he used to be like, yeah, sure, I'm going to return your money, I know I can, I'm going to do it. And after 3 months, he kind of, because of his patience and resilience, people really loved his attitude. Even the people from whom he had taken money, even though they were kind of angry, but they still felt like, yeah, this is a good man. Every time we are like behaving so rudely with him. He's smiling at us and he's assuring us that, he's going to return our money, and he's not really running away. He's not behaving badly. So even those who had been angry at him kind of became his fans, and very soon this man became very popular, and people started to talk to him. People started to wanting to know more about him. He kind of became like a public figure in his village, and very soon he started to talk for people on behalf of people, and from there on he started to get his own career. Like, he started to become a storyteller in that village, and people used to come from far and wide to listen to his stories. And in that way, it did not really earn him financially a lot. It just gave him enough to get by his day. But the fact is, by that time he became very popular, and people from far away visited this place to hear about the man who was always smiling, who had a great sense of humor, and he was always telling great stories. So this way, a lot of people from different towns and cities also came to listen to stories from him. And like I said, even by this time, he wasn't really earning much. Many people gave him a little bit of money for sharing his stories, for storytelling, but in that town, people were kind of like not that well off, so they really couldn't give much. And at the same time, those from whom he had taken money, they had given him a little bit more time. That, okay, we see that you're a good man and you're trying to look for work and everything, so we're going to give you some more time. We're going to give you 6 more months to return our money. So what happened by this time is that he had become so popular that people from different towns and cities came to listen to his stories. And one of them was this really wealthy man, and he loved the way this man had told his stories. And he asked him that, hey, do you know that you're a really happy and a really vibrant person, so don't you have any problems in your life? So this man said that, yep, I do have problems. And he shared that, I have this loan and I'm really bothered about it. I'm looking for ways to really repay my loan. And even at my house, I don't have, some days I have nothing to eat other than like one piece of bread. Me and my wife shares that piece of bread. So the wealthy man was really very inspired after listening to him, and he offered him a job which this man could do at his place, and he offered him the money that was triple the amount of his debt. If his debt was like 10,000, he had now 30,000 from that job from this wealthy man. And it was a job that he could do. It had something to do with with his everyday tasks, so he really could easily accept that job. On the first month, he repaid his debts, and after that he had all the money he wanted, and from there he started to save it, he started to invest it, he started to make his own shop and everything. So slowly, within a few years' time, this man became really happy and really abundant. So why am I sharing the story with you? Okay, the moral of the story is that the first man only asked for his problem, for his debt to get solved. And we know that in human life, one problem comes after another. So what happened, what the mistake that person did was that he focused on a problem that was really small in the timeline of his life, but for him at that moment it was one of the worst things he had ever faced. But ultimately we know that that problem was going to get solved. He had solved it, but he soon found himself to be not just in a bad temper, but in many other problems in the future. But the wisdom of the second man was that he focused on happiness and not the problem. So it did not matter to him whether he had debts, whether his other problems got solved or not, whether his needs were met or not. Since he had asked the fairy to make him happy and satisfied at all times, under all conditions, he was really happy. If he had no money to buy food, he would look for fruits in the woods, and him and his wife would have those. So he found abundance everywhere. He found happiness everywhere. Because of his happy and abundant mindset, he soon attracted the wealth he truly deserved. And he not only repaid his debt and he fixed all his problems, but this man, whether he is rich, whether he is poor, whether he has people around him, whether he has nobody around him, he was still happy under all circumstances. So what can we take away from this story? Happiness is a feeling, it's a state of being, and you can be happy at any time, under any circumstance. And the moment you're happy, you're really uplifting yourself and you're attracting more and more happiness. Isn't that great?